Long ago, in the time when the earth still listened to the feet of humans, there was a village called Umudike, resting between red hills and a river that sang day and night. Umudike was not a rich village, but it was a proud one. The people farmed yam and cassava, planted okra and pepper, and kept goats that knew the names of their owners. At the center of the village stood the ancient Iroko tree, older than most grandfathers, with roots that looked like sleeping snakes and branches that carried secrets. The villagers said the Iroko was not just a tree. They said it was a door to the world of ancestors. And when the moon was full and the night was quiet, you could sometimes hear whispers under its shade, like distant drums, like voices calling from far away. But nobody went there at night. Nobody except those who did not fear what they should. In Umudike lived two brothers, Obina and Chike. They were sons of a respected farmer named Papa Eze and a gentle mother named Mama Udo. Obina was the elder. He was calm, hardworking, and patient like a river that knows its path. He could bend under pressure, but he never broke. When he spoke, people listened because his words carried weight. Chik was the younger. He was sharp-eyed and fast-tongued. He laughed easily, but his laughter did not always reach his heart. His hands were quick, not for farming, but for taking chances. He wanted the kind of life that did not require sweating under the sun. Chike had one sickness in his spirit. It was called greed. Not the greed that makes a hungry man steal food, no. This was the greed that makes a man look at his brother's plate and feel angry that it is full. And when greed sits in a man's chest, it whispers dangerous things. It whispers, "You deserve more." It whispers, "Why should he have what you do not have?" And before you know it, greed turns family into enemies. Papa Eze owned a large farm, the kind that made people nod with respect. He had yams stacked like a small hill after harvest season, and his barn smelled of wealth and hard work. But Papa Eze was not strong anymore. Age had begun to pull him down like a heavy wrapper soaked with rain. One season after the first rains fell, Papa Eze called both sons to his obi, his small mud-walled room where decisions were made. His voice was weak, but his eyes were still sharp. "My sons," he said, "I am not blind. I know that death has started walking around my shadow." Mama Udo held her breath. Obina looked down, pained, but Chike's eyes moved, calculating, like a trader counting money. Papa Eze continued, "When I join the ancestors, I will leave this farm to you both. But I beg you, do not let my sweat become your fight." Obina placed a hand on his chest. "Papa, I hear you." Chik smiled. "Papa, we are brothers. Nothing will happen." But the truth was, something was already happening. That same night, after everyone slept, Chik crept outside. He walked barefoot through the compound, careful not to wake the chickens. The moonlight made his shadow long, stretching like a thief's arm. He went to the back where Papa Eze kept his locked wooden box, the one he always guarded like a leopard guards its cub. Inside that box was something important, not only money, not only land papers. There was also a small old pouch wrapped in dried leaves. That pouch was not meant for human hands. It contained a cowrie shell charm given to Papa Eze many years ago by a famous dibia, a traditional healer who did not play with ordinary medicine. They said that charm protected the family. They said it also held a secret blessing tied to their destiny. Chike had overheard villagers whisper that Papa Eze's farm was not just hard work. They claimed Papa Eze had been blessed by ancestors. Chike wanted that blessing. He wanted it for himself. He searched and searched until his fingers touched the pouch. The moment he opened it, the air changed. The night wind paused. Even the crickets stopped singing. Chik's hand trembled. Inside lay a cowrie shell that looked normal at first until it blinked. Yes, it blinked. Chike froze. A cold sweat ran down his back like a small snake. Then he heard a voice, not loud, not soft, but heavy like thunder behind a mountain. "You have touched what is not yours." Chike's lips shook. Who is there?" The cowrie shell fell from his hand and landed on the ground. It did not bounce. It sat like a watching eye. "You came for blessing," the voice said, "but your heart is bitter. You came for destiny, but you do not respect the road to it." Chike swallowed hard. I just want what belongs to me. The wind rose again, and the leaves rustled like people whispering. Then hear this, the voice said. 2 destinies live in this house. One is built with patience, one is built with greed. The ancestors will judge. Chike wanted to run, but his feet felt heavy. Then the voice spoke again, sharp like a cutlass. If you steal from your blood will become your curse. Suddenly, the cowrie shell flipped on its own and rolled back into the pouch. The air returned. The crickets began to sing again, as if nothing happened. Chike stood there, breathing hard. He wrapped the pouch quickly and returned it to the box, locking it like he had never touched it. But his heart did not return to peace. From that night, strange things began to happen to Chik. When he woke up, he often found his hands covered in red dust, even though he had not gone to the farm. Sometimes he heard someone calling his name from the bush, Chik, Chik. When he ran to look, nobody was there, and in his dreams he saw an old woman with white eyes sitting under the iroko tree, turning a calabash slowly in her hands. She never spoke, she only looked at him as if she was weighing him. Still, Chike did not change. You see, when some people receive warnings, they become wise. But when a greedy heart receives warnings, it becomes angry. Chike began to hate Obinna for no reason. He would wake up and feel annoyed just hearing Obinna's voice. Obinna, on the other hand, was busy trying to keep the family steady. Papa Eze grew weaker. Mama Udo cried quietly at night, and Obinna took more responsibility. He farmed, he repaired the roof, he cared for his father, and he cooked when Mama Udo was too tired. The village began to praise Obinna. They said, "That boy is a true son." They said, if Papa Eze had 10 sons, he would still need 1 Obinna. Chike heard these praises and felt his stomach burn. He began to tell himself, they like him more. And when jealousy grows, it grows like weeds. It does not need water. It only needs a heart that refuses peace. One afternoon, Papa Eze called them again. His voice was thinner than before. "My sons," he said, "tomorrow is the festival of New Yam. After that, I will call the elders and share the land properly." Chike's eyes flickered. Obinna nodded respectfully. That night, while Obinna slept, Chike went to meet a man in the next village, a crooked Dibia named Dibia Okarama. Dibia Okarama lived where the road was always muddy and the smell of strange herbs filled the air. His compound was covered with bones hung like decorations, and his eyes were always half closed as if he was seeing 2 worlds at the same time. Chik approached him with caution. "Dibia," Chiki said, "I need help." Okarama smiled slowly. "Help is not free. Speak." Chiki looked around. "I want the blessing of my father's house to follow me alone." Okarama's smile widened. "Ah, so you want to pull destiny like you pull a yam from the soil." Chiki leaned forward. "Yes, I want the farm. I want the respect. I want everything." Okarama tapped a gourd with his finger. "You can take land from a man, but you cannot take destiny from the ancestors without paying." Chiki's voice became impatient. "I will pay." Okarama stood and walked to a shelf. He brought out a small calabash sealed with black wax. He placed it in Chiki's hands. "This is called the calabash of 2 destinies," he whispered. "It holds a blessing and a curse. The blessing obeys the pure-hearted. The curse obeys the greedy." Chike frowned. "Which one will obey me?" Okarama's eyes flashed. "That depends on what you do next." Chik's fingers tightened around the calabash. "Tell me what to do." Okarama leaned in. His breath smelled like bitter cola. "During the New Yam festival tomorrow, there will be dancing and noise. People will not notice small things. Take a pinch of this powder from the calabash and put it in your father's food. It will speed his journey to the ancestors." Chiki's heart jumped. "You want me to kill my father?" Okarama shrugged. "Do you want your farm or do you want to remain a shadow beside your brother?" Chik hesitated. Then greed spoke louder than love. He nodded slowly. Okarama continued. "After that, you must go to the iroko tree at midnight and pour the remaining powder at its roots. The ancestors will decide. If they accept you, all will be yours. If they reject you," Okarama's voice dropped, "then your blood will become your curse." Chike forced a laugh. "Ancestors will accept me. I am their child too." Okarama shook his head, almost pitying him. "You are a child, yes, But not every child is loved the same way when they become wicked. Chike left with the calabash tucked under his wrapper, walking fast, as if running away from his own conscience. The next day, the village came alive. Drums spoke, women sang, men wore wrappers with bold patterns. Children chased one another with laughter, and the smell of roasted yam and palm oil filled the air. Obinna helped Mama Udo cook. He washed yams, turned them in the pot, and made sure Papa Eze had food brought to him. Chike sat quietly, watching like a hawk. When nobody was looking, he slipped into the kitchen hut. He opened the calabash. Inside was a powder that looked like ash mixed with dried blood. His hand shook as he pinched a little. He poured it into Papa Eze's soup, stirring quickly. Then he wiped his hands and walked out, pretending to smile at the dancers. Papa Eze ate later. Not much, only a few spoons. But the power in that powder did not need much. By sunset, Papa Eze began to cough. By nightfall, his breath became heavy. Mama Udo cried out, "Eze, Eze!" Obinna ran to his father's mat. Papa Eze looked at Obinna with tired eyes. "Obinna," he whispered. "Yes, Papa. I see the road." His fingers tightened around Obinna's hand. Then Papa Eze's eyes rolled upward and his body went still. A silence fell like a heavy cloth over the compound. Mama Udo screamed until her voice broke. Obinna cried like a child, shaking his father's body, begging him to return. Chike stood behind them, his face stiff. Inside, something twisted. Not guilt, not sorrow, it was fear, because he remembered the voice. If you steal from your blood will become your curse. But it was too late. The burial was arranged quickly, as tradition required. Elders came, prayers were said, kola nuts were broken, and Papa Eze was laid in the earth beside his own father. That night, while the village mourned, Chike remembered what Okarama told him. He waited until midnight. He wrapped the calabash in cloth and left the compound. The path to the Iroko tree was dark, but the moon showed enough to see the road. As he walked, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, nothing. He walked again, footsteps followed. He turned again, nothing. His heart began to beat like a drum of war. When he reached the Iroko tree, the air felt colder. The tree stood tall, watching. Chike knelt. He opened the calabash. The powder inside had reduced, as if something had already eaten it. He poured what remained at the roots. As soon as the powder touched the ground, the earth trembled. The wind rose sharply, swirling dust around him. Then the whispers came, many voices overlapping like a crowd. "Blood, blood!" Chike looked around wildly. "Ancestors, accept me. I did what I was told." The Iroko's leaves shook violently, though there was no storm. A shadow formed before him, taller than any man, darker than night, with eyes glowing like embers. Chike fell backward. The shadow spoke. "You killed the one who gave you life." Chike cried. He was old. He was going to die anyway. The shadow's eyes narrowed. "You did not wait for destiny. You forced it. Now destiny will force you." Chike shook his head. No, I did this to secure my future." The shadow raised a hand and suddenly Chike saw visions in the air. He saw Obinna as a child sharing food with him. He saw Mama Udo carrying Chike on her back through rain. He saw Papa Eze teaching him to plant yam, guiding his hands gently. Chike began to sob, not because he regretted, but because he realized what he had destroyed. The shadow spoke again. "Two destinies live in your house." The whispers grew louder. "One is patience, one is greed." Then, from the roots of the Iroko, a woman stepped out, the same old woman with white eyes from Chaik's dreams. She held a calabash, turning it slowly. Her voice was like dry leaves. "Chaik, son of Eze, you wanted the whole pot of soup. Now you will eat it alone." Chaik begged. "Please forgive me, give me blessing." The old woman tilted her head. "You shall receive what you truly called for." She lifted her calabash and poured something invisible into Chike's open palms. At first, nothing happened. Then Chike screamed because his palms began to burn as if hot charcoal had been placed there. He threw his hands in the air, shaking them, but the burning did not stop. The old woman spoke. "From today, whatever you touch with greed will wither. Whatever you hold with wickedness will turn to dust. And until you confess, you will not know peace." Chike fell to the ground, shaking. When he looked at his hands, the skin had darkened, covered with strange marks like cowrie patterns. He ran back home before dawn, trembling like a hunted animal. Days passed. Papa Eze's land sharing began, but he was dead. So the elders followed tradition. The elder son should lead, and the younger should receive a portion. Obinna did not fight. Obinna did not boast. He told Chike, "Brother, let us share." Papa would want peace. Chike forced a smile, but his hands burned whenever he thought about taking more. Still, greed pushed him. One day, while Obinna was at the stream, Chike went into the barn and took the best yam seedlings, planning to plant them in secret on a hidden portion of land. But as he carried them, the seedlings began to rot in his hands. He dropped them in shock. When he returned later, they were dust. Another day, he stole money Mama Udo kept wrapped in cloth. The moment he counted it, the notes crumbled. Dust again. Chike began to fear his own hands, and the voices followed him. At night he heard Papa Eze coughing in his ear. He heard the whispers, "Blood, blood." His sleep disappeared. His appetite disappeared. He became thin like a stick dried by harmattan. Mama Udo noticed. She called him, "Chike, what is eating you?" Chike laughed badly. "Nothing." But even Mama Udo's eyes began to change toward him. Mothers know, sometimes they know even without proof. Obinna continued his work. He farmed with patience, singing old songs as he planted, and because his hands were clean, the earth honored him. His yams grew large. His crops did not fail. Even when the rains delayed, his farm still survived. People began to say, "Papa Eze's blessing is following Obinna strongly." Chike heard it and felt madness rise. One evening, Chike went again to Dibia Okarama. Okarama looked at him and laughed. "You look like someone who wrestled spirits and lost." Chike shouted, "Remove the curse." Okarama leaned back. "Curses do not leave because you command them. They leave because you correct what brought them." Chike slammed his fist on the ground, then screamed again as pain shot through his palm. Okarama's eyes gleamed. "You have been marked." Chike's voice shook. "What must I do?" Okarama's tone became serious. "Confess. Face your mother. Face your brother. Face the elders. Return what you took from blood." Chike whispered, "If I confess, they will hate me. They will cast me out." Okarama nodded. "Better to be cast out by humans than to be hunted by ancestors." Chike left again, torn between shame and fear. That night, the climax of his torment arrived. It was another full moon night. Chike was alone in his hut when the air became cold. The fire he lit suddenly went out by itself. Then he heard a slow knock, 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 knock. He swallowed. "Who is there?" No answer. The knock came again. Knock, knock, knock. Chike stood, shaking, and opened the door. Nobody. He stepped outside. The moonlight was bright, but the compound seemed empty, too empty. Then he saw it. At the center of the compound, near Papa Eze's old stool, stood a figure. Papa Eze, not alive, not fully dead. A shadow of him, with eyes like deep wells. Chike fell to his knees. "Papa?" Papa Eze's voice came like wind through a hollow log. "You sold your blood for soil." Chike cried. "I was foolish." Papa Eze pointed toward the Iroko tree in the distance. "Before the sun rises, confess under the Iroko, or your curse will enter your children after you." Chike's head snapped up. "My children?" Papa Eze's shadow nodded slowly. "The curse does not stop with one greedy hand." Then Papa Eze vanished like smoke. Chike screamed until his throat hurt, and this fear was different. It was not fear for himself alone. It was fear that his wickedness would poison generations. Before dawn, Chike dragged himself to Mama Udo's hut. Obinna was there, sitting with her, comforting her. Chike entered like a broken man. He fell flat on the floor. Mama Udo gasped. "Chike!" Obinna stood. "Brother, what is wrong?" Chike's tears fell like rain. "I did it," he whispered. Obinna's face tightened. "Did what?" Chike's voice broke. I poisoned Papa." A silence crashed into the room. Mama Udo's mouth opened, but no sound came out at first. Then she screamed, a sound that did not sound human. Obinna stumbled backward like someone struck. "No," Obinna whispered. "No, you are lying." Chike shook his head, sobbing. "I wish I was lying. I went to Adibia. I wanted the blessing for myself. I wanted everything." Mama Udo trembled, holding her chest. Obinna's eyes became wet, not only from grief, from betrayal. He turned away, breathing hard. Chike crawled closer. "Brother, I am sorry. I am begging you. If I do not confess fully, the curse will enter my children." Mama Udo's face was wet with tears. You You killed your father. Chike nodded, shaking. Obina looked at Chike for a long time. Then he spoke, slow and heavy. Stand up. Chike stood weakly. Obina said, We will go to the elders. We will go to the Iroko tree. You will confess where the ancestors can hear. Mama Udo cried, No, they will kill him. Obina answered, If the ancestors are angry, only truth can cool them. They went at sunrise. The elders gathered, the village gathered. The Iroko tree stood silent, watching. Chike confessed everything, his voice shaking, his hands showing the curry marks. Gasps moved through the crowd. Some people shouted, Wickedness. Some said, He should be banished. Some said, Let him die. But the oldest elder, Elder Nana, raised his staff. Silence, he commanded. He turned to Obina. What do you say? Obina's voice trembled, but he spoke. My father is gone. Nothing brings him back. But if we kill Chike, we add blood to blood. Let him face the ancestors properly. Elder Nana nodded. He called for the village Dibia, a righteous man named Dibia Ifeanyi, known for healing, not harming. Dibia Ifeanyi came with white chalk, kola nuts, and a bowl of water from the sacred stream. He drew symbols on the ground, called the ancestors by name, and offered kola. Then he spoke, Ancestors of Umudike, hear us. A son has sinned, he has confessed. We ask for judgment mixed with mercy. The wind moved, the Iroko leaves shook, the air became cold again, and the old woman with white eyes appeared just as she had before, stepping from the roots like mist. People fell back in fear. She looked at Chike. Greedy hand, she said, why should your curse be lifted? Chike wept. Because I have told the truth, because I do not want my wickedness to enter my children, because I have seen that greed is poison. The old woman stared at Obina. And you, patient one, why do you stand beside him? Obina swallowed. Because he is my brother, because my father begged for peace, because if I answer betrayal with hatred, I become what I hate. The old woman was quiet, then she nodded slowly. Very well. She raised her hand. Chik, your punishment will remain, but it will transform. Chik looked up. She continued, You will not be blessed by taking. You will only be blessed by giving. The marks on Chik's hands began to fade, but not completely. The burning eased. The old woman spoke again. For 7 seasons, you will work Obina's farm without reward. You will serve your mother with humility. You will repair what you broke with your own hands. If you fail, the curse returns stronger. Chike bowed his head. I accept. Then the old woman turned to the people. And you, Umudike, learn this. Destiny is not stolen. Destiny is walked. Patience is the foot that reaches it. With that, she vanished into the Iroko. The wind softened, the sun rose fully, and the world returned. Chike kept his word. For 7 seasons, he worked like a man trying to wash blood off his spirit. He woke before dawn. He carried water. He weeded the farm. He served Mama Udo with care, not because he wanted praise, but because guilt had taught him humility. At first, villagers mocked him, but slowly they began to see change. Obina did not treat him like a slave. Obina guided him. Obina spoke to him. Obina did not forget betrayal, but he refused to become bitter. And the strange thing is this. When Chike began to give, life began to give back. His crops grew again. His sleep returned. His laughter became real. After the 7th season, Dibia Ifeanyi called Chike under the Iroko tree. He placed kola nut in Chike's palm. The ancestors have seen enough, he said. They have turned your curse into wisdom. From that day, Chike became known as a man who warns young men about greed. He would sit by moonlight and say, I have tasted the soup of wickedness. It burns the mouth and never satisfies. Obina prospered, not because he fought, but because he endured. Mama Udo lived to see her sons walk together again, though the scar never fully left. Because some wounds heal, but they still remind you. Moral lesson. My children, hear this clearly. Greed can make you destroy the people who love you most. Destiny cannot be stolen. It must be earned with patience and good character. When you betray your family for quick gain, your gain becomes a curse. But when you confess, change, and do what is right, even a curse can become a blessing. The fire is low now. The the moon is still watching. And if you ever feel greed whispering in your ear, remember Chike and choose a cleaner road. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to follow us for more interesting African folk tales.